Hello there guys, welcome back to another live stream. My name's Mike, aka Decimal Punked, and we are back in Unity 6.0. The version we're using is 6000.0.58F2. I'm gonna show you guys what we got working last stream before we dive into the loot drop. So we have the monsters. Last night I programmed the monster respawn. Took a lot longer than I thought it would, but it works nicely. So you can kill the skellies. And they will respawn. Oh my god, I'm getting my ass kicked. So I think, did we kill two there? There we go, we've got one respawn. So, is that two at the moment we've got? Let's just go up the hill. So there's three. We should get the other one respawn. There he is. And we have got a really nice respawn with the skeletons. So you can basically, there's a 30-second respawn timer. So after that time, when you killed one, it will respawn after 30 seconds. You'll notice bottom left, we've got a bar beneath the health bar, which is going to be the experience bar. So when the player kills a skeleton, it will reward them with experience. And then as they level up, you'll be able to get attribute points that you can invest back into your character, and give them, you know, more life and things. So I need to plan it all out, because I wanted to have like this, I wanted to have like a skill system, so kind of similar to Diablo 2, where you kill, after you've leveled up, you get attribute points. Also similar to Titan Quest. You level up, you get some skill points, and then you get some attribute points. So these things would affect the player's health, the damage, and things like that. Because at the moment, we've just got base damage. We haven't got anything else. I've defined those factors, but I'd like to have things like, you know, as the game grows, you'll have weapons that have different stats that will increase your damage. Obviously, all of this would build on the existing system. Not make it more complex, but just make it a lot bigger than it is. So what we're going to do today is I want to do the loot drops. So I don't I want to also I want to model these things. So you see on the right hand side there, I've got a very basic spreadsheet with the enemy name, and then we've got like their loot. So the skeleton will always drop bones, and it will always drop coins, and the amount varies anywhere between 5 and 40. And then there's an additional chance for a secondary roll, and at the moment I've just got 3 gems. I didn't want to add loads of loot for the skeletons. I just thought I'd keep it fairly simple for them. So yeah, so we're gonna program the drop tables. We're gonna have a new manager for a loot manager, and we're gonna get this all set up so that when we kill a skeleton, it will drop something from the table. Now, I will probably do a Blender live stream tomorrow or later today, where I'll model 3 gems, the bones and the coins. So we'll have just like a stack of coins, and then once we've got those models, we'll be able to build on the existing code that we're going to do now, and we can have the monster, we can have that loot spawn at the place the monster dies, and I want to have the loot kind of erupt like a volcano almost, but kind of jump up and go in different positions. I thought that would be quite a nice little aesthetic more than anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our scene, and under manager we're going to create a new one, and this is going to be called loot manager. We need to add a script machine. Loot manager. And there we go, give it a nice simple description. Loot manager handles loot drops from enemies. So this is the respawn manager for the skeletons. It's nice and straightforward. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this, go to the loot manager, I'm going to paste it, and then I'm going to delete that out, and we're going to call this so RS is for respawn, so we're going to call this loot drop. So Greyvale skeleton loot drop. So LD's for loot drop. I'm just gonna Okay. I don't know why, I don't really like that purple colour. Spawn skeleton, Grey Veil. Grey Veil loot table. Okay, so right, so we need to, we're going to code in the stuff so that when the skeleton dies, we're going to reward these things. Now, we're going to need something. This is going to be tricky because we need it to spawn where the enemy is killed. That's going to be tricky, isn't it? You'd need it to kind of happen. How am I going to do this? Because I want to be able to spawn the loot. I guess you could possibly do it before the timer. I mean, it makes sense to get these things. Is there an on update? Because we have an object variable of current position. If we're able to read that variable from the skeleton, I'm trying to look for something here. Because if we're going to be handling the respawn within the respawn manager, like the respawn manager is going to be the thing that spawns the loot. But then oh, this is tricky. There's nothing else in there. Think, Mike, think. It's almost like there needs to be an on update to get the position of the skeleton. Or if we had a scene variable for spawn loot, loot spawn LOC for loot spawn location, and then we would set that to the point the skeleton dies. Maybe that's a good way of doing it. So I'm going to add a scene variable called loot spawn vector. We'll have that as a scene variable, spawn loot vector, and then we go in here. So Gravel skeleton loot drop. So when it dies, you would create a game object. So what I'll do is I won't plug it in. position would be think we know we need to spawn bones and loot. And basically this would be really handy if I had models. The idea is the player would walk over the objects and collect them. Going to have like an auto loot, so you just walk over the loot and it will appear in your inventory. So I guess going by the drop table, you would instantiate bones, and then the coins how would you do the coins? You don't want to spawn literally like, imagine if you killed an enemy that was 1,000 coin value. It's like you'd need to define the value of the coins. It's like you'd have a prefab of the coins, and then there'd be a variable in there, which be an integer. I mean, it makes sense to have it as an integer because, I mean, unless there were things further down the line that worked with percentages. But if it's just going to be an integer, if there's going to be no kind of discount perks, need to... If you created one that was coins, theoretically, if there was a game object with coins, and then you, if it had a variable in that prefab, hopefully you should be able to read that from this point here. So this is the Unity object, that's the output. So then you would set the variable. Let's give this a go. I mean, what I might do, guys, I might actually jump into Blender and model the coins. So it will drop the bones. It will drop the coins. Now I know that's got an error because we don't have the prefab put in there yet. Now I'm not going to connect this in, but it would be really handy if I actually modeled these things. Just so we can see them dropping. What I might do is I might actually jump into Blender once we've done this code and then make the models and then bring them in. Shouldn't take me too long to make the gems. So we then do a dice roll. And then if it's less or equal to if it's less or equal to if it's 25 or less, hold on. If it's 25 or less, no, hold on a second. I did this is really annoying. I did this in oh, what did I do this in? Oh my god, what was it called? In my Fish Fest, I had loot spawn. Right, give me 1 second, guys. I am still here. 1 second. Project. Oh, fuck me, that's annoying. Right, what I'm doing is I'm just I'm unwrapping my Fish Fest project because I've got the code in there. that I've already done for like loot drops. So I'm just going to load that in. We're going to open that project. Because in that game, I had chances of fish to drop during clicking. And the way it's, I just need to make sure that the code that I'm doing now is correct. Because if the number is yeah, I need to just look at my other projects before I continue. Give me 1 second. Why am I... Oh my god. Hold on, guys. Okay. So we're opening Fish Fest, which is a game that I made earlier this year. And we'll be able to look at the code. Because we have 3 drops. We have 2 guaranteed drops. And then we have the different drop rates for them. So if the loot drop is equal or greater than 25%, then you spawn a topaz. If it's, I think that's how I did it. Oh my god, I remember now. Jesus Christ. God damn, that was full on. Right, here we go. This is what I wanted to look at. So as you can see, this was for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different drops. 20%, 15, 10, 5 and bit of a typo there. Right, so we have the dice roll. So what I would do is I'd have this value here as 0.25 for the topaz. So if it's less or equal to 25%, then we do a check. If it equals 20, oh my god. Okay, yeah, this was a little bit complicated. Let me just let me just refresh my brain. If that dice roll is less than 20, if it's less or equal to 20, we guarantee we get a gem drop. And then we're doing a check, and we're saying, does it equal 20? That doesn't seem right. So ignore all this extra bit here. What we're interested in is this first bit of the code. Oh my god, dude. Okay. So if the roll is greater or above 10, Jesus Christ, it's really hot in this room. Okay, let's start from the very bottom. Because I think what I should have done with this code is I should have started with the lowest number first. So where we do our dice roll here, if we go to Sword and Scourge, this is the handling the secondary drop chance. So you always get guaranteed the bones and the coins, but then the range here is going to be, is the player going to get a special drop, or a kind of rare drop, I guess. The rare drop table. So where we do that, we need to do an if. Right, so let's go from this. So if it's less, if it's greater, okay. So a 1% chance right, so if that dice roll, why did that just zoom in? So what we're saying is the dice roll, greater or equal to 0.01, which is 1% chance. If it was 0.1, it would be a 10% chance, 1 being 100% chance. So if the dice roll is greater or equal, no, hold on. No, I think this one needs to say the less or equal. I think it needs to be less or equal. So if the dice roll is if it's less or equal to 1%, then if it's less or equal to 1%, it spawns a blood ruby, an emerald, or a topaz. This is integer, isn't it? If we have it as 0 to 2, so it'd be 0, 1, 2. Or if I just have it as 1 to 3, so 1, 2, 3. Because we've got the topaz, the emerald, and the blood ruby. If that second roll Right, so these are really annoying, you can't shrink that anymore. So this is the first guaranteed drop, and then afterwards we're rolling for the second loot. So we do a float random, which will handle the percentage chance. If it's less or equal, if it's less or equal to 1%, if we just go to Fish Fest. Yeah, here we go, see, less or equal. And then as we see, we do a random, and you see how it goes all the way, you see that yellow line, it goes all the way up to the top here, so spawns. So this is what I'm doing here, we're doing the 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3. If it equals that, then it spawns that. If it equals, if that's not true, does it equal that? Yeah, okay. Okay, so if it equals 1, if it equals 1, so if it equals, so basically if the dice roll is less or equal to 1, then if it was 1, we'll spawn a blood diamond. So, and then we can go on here. If true. So if it's if it's a 1, annoying. Why can't that go any smaller? If it's true, then we spawn a blood ruby. If it's false, does it equal 2? Why didn't I just, hold on a minute, why didn't I just copy that? So if it's not 1, if that roll is 1, spawn a blood ruby. If it's not 1, is it 2? If it's 2, we'll spawn an emerald. If it's not a 2, is it a 3? If it's a 3, spawn a topaz. That goes up there. Right, so if on the secondary, in the rare drop table, if the roll is 1% or less, we're basically guaranteeing a blood ruby drop. But you have to bear in mind, going by, if I just bring this over here, you see the chances there. What we're doing, if the player was to roll, if the rare drop table rolled 1% or less, then the player is eligible to get anything on the rare drop table, because that dice roll, well, it allows the potential for any of those items to drop, but it's not going to guarantee, oh, you've rolled a 1%, you're going to get the blood ruby. It still rolls within the entire table. So we're basically saying, okay, you've rolled a 1% or less, fantastic, you can get any item, but we will decide which item you get, and that is then done by a secondary roll, which is an integer, random integer roll, and that's what's happening here. So we do this stage where we decide what loot will drop, whether it's the blood ruby, the emerald, or the topaz. So what I need to do is I just need to plug in these points. So this goes to the position. And you can't see that at the moment, guys, but essentially yeah, basically this is a scene variable, the spawn loot vector. And what we would do is in the graph for the skeleton, when a skeleton dies, we would trigger this custom event, but just before we trigger it, the moment before we trigger it, we would set the spawn loot vector to the location of the skeleton, and then when directly after that we trigger this event. So then if we just quickly come into the skeleton graph, I just want to check that the custom event on death is a one-time thing. Yes, it is. Yep, so just before this timer we would plug it in there, we would set the spawn loot vector and then trigger that custom event to drop the loot. I'm feeling quite confident in this. I know it might look a little bit complicated, but it's fairly straightforward. So we're now going to plug in the quaternium, which is just the rotation. And we're not going to do anything fancy with it. Okay. This is what I don't like about Unity's visual scripting compared to Unreal's blueprints. Is just that's such an eyesore to look at. If I was in Unreal, this would be tidy as anything. But you can't really. It's just one of those things. Okay, so go back. Oh god. Go back to the dice roll. If it's less or than 1%, then we do that. And if we just go to Fishfest, you will see. Can you see on here where we've got the random? Can you see how, depending on what option is chosen from that dice roll, it follows that code? But if it spawns like a 3, for example, if we follow that branch, you see it doesn't go into the if, it goes directly to instantiating, so spawning the object. Yeah? So if it's less or equal to 1%, then we spawn either a blood ruby, an emerald, or a topaz. So then we're going to do a check. So basically, if this dice roll here, we need to have one to say, okay, on the false, alright, so it's obviously the dice roll hasn't rolled less or equal to that range, so then we're going to do a check and we'll say, okay, is it less or equal to hold on. One second. There we go, greater or equal. Okay. Oh my god, I'm in the wrong one. Sorry, I'm in the right one. Oh my god. Okay, so if it's not 1%, we're saying, okay then, is it greater or equal to 10%? So if that is the case, then we would do another dice roll. But this dice roll, this is where the graph is going to get a little bit big. So if it's greater or equal to 10%, then we will allow an emerald or a topaz to roll. So then we would copy this and we would do a roll for between 1 and 2. And then where the hell am I going to put that? Fuck. There is no nice way of making this look tidy. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring this here because these are handling the spawning of it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna copy these and I'm gonna plug these just in here. So if that so if it's 1, we'll go for the emerald, and then if it's the 2, we'll spawn the topaz. So what I've done here, guys, is blood rubies. We're starting from the rarest drop to the more common drop. So we're saying if it's 1% or less, we'll allow the player to get one of these items, and then if that drop table roll isn't that, we're checking, okay, is it greater or equal to 10%? If it is, then we do a second dice roll to say, okay, the player is eligible to receive either an emerald or a topaz, and that's what we're doing here. If the first roll is that, we're going to reward them with an emerald. If it's not that, then we're going to give them a topaz. And then we need to have this one more time. And we don't even need to do a dice roll for this one. What we would do is we'd copy that, and the drop chance for a topaz is 0.25, so it's 25% chance. So that would go into that. And that would come off of this false. So if that's true, spawn a topaz. Okay, I know that might look a little bit confusing looking at that, but trust me, it will work. So I mean, that's fairly straightforward, to be honest. It's all dice rolls. And a big old bowl of messy spaghetti. So again, with the post-it notes here, the post-it notes help us kind of at a glance look what's going on. So these two parts here, this is the bones, this is the coins, and this dice roll here determines the amount of coins that's dropped. So once we've created a game, a model for the coins, we can then create a prefab and give that prefab a variable called value. It would be an integer, and then I'm not planning on having like discounts in shops or things like that. I don't want to overcomplicate it. Like you're gonna have the coins, you know, it'll be an integer. Yeah, so for the time being I'm going to keep the coins as an integer variable. So we guarantee the bones, we guarantee the coins. This determines the coins that are dropped, and then we roll for the drop table. If that roll is 1% or less, then we will allow any of these items to be rewarded to the player. If that statement isn't met, then we do a second check. Okay, is it greater or equal to 10%? If that is true, then we do another dice roll. So you can see up here, guys, we've got 1 to 3. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. And then the dice roll's reduced because it's just the emerald and topaz that they'll be rewarded. So if the dice roll is 1, we reward the emerald. If it's 2, we reward the topaz. And then if this first red table dice roll isn't 10%, we're checking, okay, is it greater? No, hold on a minute. No, because then that's not right. No, that's not right. If it's less or equal to 1%, allow all of them. Hold on a minute. I think I've messed up the functions. I see what's going on. This is the gateway that will allow the loot. This whole thing here is the big gateway. We need that because at the moment my code hold on a sec. Hey Long Arm, welcome to the stream, bro. How are you? I'm just programming the drop table for our skeleton. I've got my other Fish Fest project open because this is my Fish Fest game here. It's an idle clicker. You can play this. It's on my itch page, but the reason I've got this project open is because I did a drop table in this one. So I just need to make sure that the gateway is correct. Glad you're doing well, dude. Right, think. If the rare drop table is less than 1%, we allow the chance for any of the diamonds, the gems, to drop. I wonder if there's a function. I think I know what might be better. Is there a way that we can like check a range? So between 0.1 to 1. Give me 1 sec. Oh my god. I'm just asking AI for the node. Random float node. Check if the value falls within your range. Compare. Got ya. It's a compare node. Check if the value falls within your range. Give me 1 second, dude. What's the drop table? So, you know, I have skeletons in my game. We've got a fully functional respawn mechanic for the enemies. So when you kill the skeletons, after 30 seconds, they will respawn. I want to implement a loot drop. So when you kill a skeleton, they will drop some loot. And this, what you can see on the right hand side there, is my Excel spreadsheet I made, which has the loot drops. It has what will drop and a chance for it to drop. So the green one there is 100% guaranteed when you kill it. So it will reward bones every time, as well as coins, and the value of the coins is random, but it will be between 5 and 40 coins. And then the blue is the rare drop table. So that's like an additional chance. When you kill a skeleton, it also has a chance to drop something of greater value. So those ones, as you can see, the topaz, emerald and ruby have their chance to drop. So 25% chance for a topaz, 10% for an emerald, and 1% for a blood ruby. So what I'm doing in my table, on this code, is I'm just programming it so we're rolling a dice for the loot table. That's what this main section is here that you can see. This whole section here handles this second roll. Yeah. No, you're fine, dude. No, you're perfectly fine. Any questions, ask away. I'm happy to share my knowledge and what I'm doing. I know it might look quite complicated. It's not that complicated. It's what I'm doing is I'm determining the drop for the players. This one here is perfectly fine, where we're saying if the dice roll is less or equal to 1%, we're rewarding the player with any of the gems. But what I need to do is then I need to have a check to say hold on. We need to say, is it between? Is that roll between? This is the tricky bit. This node here, less or equal to, is fine. If it's less or equal to 1%. What did I do on the Fish Fest one? Can't be this tricky. Let me just get rid of that for the moment. Right, if the dice rolled is 1% or less, allow them to get one of those. If the okay, and then we're checking. Okay, right, let me just follow this logic. If the dice roll is 1% or less, then we reward them with one of these. If that's not true, we're checking. Okay, if it's not 1%, is it less than 10%? If it is less than 10%, equal. If it's 10% or less, then we reward an emerald. Hold on. If it's less than 10%, we do a roll, and we say. If it's less, if it's 10% less or equal, if it's 10% or below, because it wouldn't spawn above 10%. The threshold is emerald or topaz. So if it's 1%, we do any of those. If that's not correct, we check, okay, is it 10% or less? Then we reward an emerald or a topaz. This is the one we need to make sure that's correct here, this node. Because we want to say, is the... If that's not the case, if it's not 10%, we need to say, okay, is the dice roll between 10% and 25%? Because if a dice roll was like 13% rolled from here, if there was a 15% roll, it wouldn't be, the player wouldn't be eligible for the emerald because that's 10%. So we need to say is it greater than and less than yeah, that's all we need to do. Greater than 10% but less or equal. What's shader graph? I've not heard of shader graph. Is that something within Unity or? What is what you are using called? Oh, what in Unity at the moment? What you're looking at on screen? This is visual scripting. It's just got in Unity. It's called visual scripting. If I was doing this in Unreal, it would be called blueprints. But yeah, it's just called visual scripting. And you can see on here in package manager, here it is, visual scripting. Oh, what you're doing. Oh, okay, got ya. Yeah. Nice. Are you working? Are you the one that's working on that project with the trees and the mechanic for slicing trees? I get quite a few regular viewers and hey Awen, welcome to the stream, bro. Right, I believe that's going to work. So, what I'm going to do, guys, I don't know if both, I know Awen, I think you're American-based time zone. Long Arm, I don't know if you're European or American-based time zone, but what I'm going to do, you can see within this code, I'm spawning the objects. What I wanted to do was hop into Blender. I want to first basically test this, and the way that we can test this is by unplugging the instantiate and just putting in a oh my god, a string, and then print that to debug log so we can actually see if that's been dropped. And then what I can also do is I can temporarily I can affect the damage I deal to the skeletons just to test the loot's dropping and how much is dropping. So but I was thinking I'll give this a test and then we'll hop into Blender. So what I would do is I would call the stream, and then straight away I would load up another stream, because I have playlists on my YouTube for Blender and Unity, and because it's modeling and game dev, I wanted to keep the two separate, because I was going to model the bones and the coins and the 3 gems. So these are basically the first items that will appear in the game. Why do I feel so hungry? Sorry, 1 second, guys. Awen is a master. He's knowledgeable in game dev and modelling. The man, the myth, the legend. Right, so how can we test this at the moment? How can we test this at the moment? Okay. Right, so what we're doing at the moment, guys, is we are basically testing this without actually spawning the objects. So we're just checking. So at the moment we know that's going to happen. So then we're going to bypass the spawning instantiate, and we're going to do that. And then we're going to check that, and then we're going to go up to the rare drop table. Oh my god! Jesus! Right, I think. So as you can see, the instantiated objects here aren't plugged in, but everything else that handles the loot drops is. It's not complicated. If this was in Unreal, all of these, I always refer to them as spaghetti because they just look messy as anything. I wish Unity would implement a similar thing where you can tidy up the nodes, because you can see, looking at that, it's an eyesore. In Unreal, you can straighten the nodes and make them all nice. If you were to see my previous projects, of which they are on my YouTube channel, you can see how tidy my code is. Like, I straighten all the lines, make them all nice and tidy. But it's fairly straightforward. These things I've just added in with the debug. It's basically so I can test that the loot is dropping as I've programmed it to drop. So we're going to play the game. We're going to kill skeletons, and we're gonna keep the debug log up and check that the loot is dropping. And once I've modelled the coins, bones and 3 gems, we can come back in and then we can connect the instantiate nodes so that it will make the actual models spawn loot. So the loot will appear, and then it's fairly straightforward. So this should work. I can't see any reason why it wouldn't. I believe that's all working. So what we're going to do is we're going to do focused, and we're going to go into the skeleton graph, and we're going to one hit the skeletons. So at the moment it's 20%. You do quarter life damage to a skeleton. So I'm going to change this to 1 so they die instantly. Okay. And then we need to have the console up. So what should happen is, as we're killing them, we should see the loot appear at the bottom, and this is testing the code that I've just done. Hour and 49 to do it. That's not bad, is it? Dude. Oh, you numpty. I went for all that effort. You know what I've forgotten to do, guys? Can you guess? I forgot to call the event. Trigger custom event. Oh, I need to do a scene variable now. I'm such a numpty. I'm such a numpty. Numpty dumpty. Oh, I love this song. I say that every single time, guys. I do apologise. Scene variable, loot manager, spawn loot vector. Out of sight, that is the song playing. I love it. Okay, so we're going to go into the skeleton graph, and it was before the timer. So before that timer, we're going to trigger that from this. See? So just before we initiate the timer that then handles the respawn, we're spawning the loot. And the reason we're doing it here is because we're actually going to set a variable. We're going to set the spawn loot vector, because in the code here, which I haven't plugged in because this is the instantiating. So basically the spawn loot vector is a scene variable, and this will be set before the skeleton, before the skeleton's destroyed. So we'll basically be getting the skeletons transformed so we know exactly where it is in the world, and then we spawn the loot on the skeleton. So now that that's all plugged back in, let me try that again. I do apologise, I forgot to plug that custom, calling that custom event. That was it was a little bit ditzy. But let's go. Let's kick some skeletons' ass. Oh! We got an emerald! And 34 coins! Oh, dude. We got just bones and coins that time. Oh, we got topaz! Nice! Nice! It's working, guys! You see at the bottom left there, the console. Let's go get the other one. Right, we've got 8 coins. Stingy bastard. That one dropped 14 coins. Oh, that is so cool. Right, so they are going to respawn in, but we're one-hitting them because the developer has given us one-hit kill ability. Okay, we've got 11 coins that time. Oh, this is pretty cool, guys. You got to admit. Got a topaz and 24 coins. $27 coins. So the maximum coins it will drop is 40. I'm just going to run out the graveyard. There should be 4 in total, 4 skeletons in total. I just want to make sure that they do all respawn. Look at that, Awen. The 6.5 hours spent yesterday on that respawn. It works perfectly. I'm so happy. Got 33 coins at that time. Want to see if we can get the blood ruby, which is a 1% chance drop. Oh, can you imagine when I implement like boss fights? Oh my god, it's going to be so fun! Oh, dude. I wonder what my first boss should be. What should my first boss be? I could have like a spider boss or like a big troll. And he could like throw big boulders at the player. And they can do knockback damage. That'd be cool. 35 coins. Thank you, dude. I used Mixamo for the animations just because I didn't have time. I did, yeah, I did a lot of work modelling for this game. Like, I modelled everything in this game, so I wasn't even required. I'm not getting graded on the assets at all. I'm getting graded on the narrative design. But I wanted to model everything myself because I wanted to improve my modelling, and yeah. Oh, we got a topaz that time. Oh shit, I didn't notice my health. That was close. So what we're hoping for is 40 coins and the blood ruby. The blood ruby is a 1% chance. So you can see the console log at the bottom left. We can see the drops we're getting. Do you remember the bones are 100% drop, and the coins, which range between 5 and 40 coins dropped on kill. We just got an emerald, so that's a 10%. That means the dice roll was at least 10%. Because you need to get 10% or lower for the emerald to drop. Yeah, so this trimester, designers had to create a narrative game, so we had to do a load of written documentation on the narrative design of the game, the world, the story, the plot, and then we had to write the dialogue, implement the dialogue using Ink and Unity integration. And yeah, so for this project I chose to do medieval RPG with a quest line because, well, that is massively narrative based, you know. Like, you've got the dialogue between characters, you've got the story there. I know some students did like visual novels, but I just wanted to make like a quest line because I play a lot of RPGs. That's pretty much most of the games that I play. So I'm hoping I'll get a good grade because I spent 225 hours making this. And it is like super polished. I'm not just saying that because I've made it. Like, it is, I genuinely have a lot of fun just walking around in the world that I've created, you know. So, welcome to the stream, guys. What I'm doing at the moment is I'm just testing the loot, and we can see that the loot is dropping, the monsters are respawning. We haven't got the blood emerald, blood diamond yet. That is a 1% chance. And yes, we are one-shotting the skeletons because I've set their damage, the damage they receive, to be, well, all their life basically. It's just really nice seeing them respawn, because we're going to also be implementing an XP bar. So at the moment, on the bottom left, you can see the HUD. And just beneath the health bar, there is an empty bar, and that's going to be like a golden gauge, which will represent the experience. So when the player stops getting their ass kicked, sorry, hold on. Yeah, when the player, when I implement that, when you kill enemies, you're going to be Ruby. What? What are you on about? It's a blood ruby. I don't understand the comment about the ruby. So yeah, I'm going to be implementing an XP bar, and that's going to be when the player kills enemies, they'll be rewarded with experience. And then as you level up, you'll kind of get like attribute points that you can put into your character. So you'd have stuff like strength that would affect the damage that you do with melee weapons. You'd have an attribute where you could spend, so you get attribute points when you level up, and then you spend those points in like the skill tab. So we've got the quest journal here at the moment when you press J, but then there'll be like a skills page which will have it will basically have like a list of your skills. It will tell you your player's character level. It will tell you what your skills are, how much damage you deal, what your life is. I said blood diamond. What? Did I? I said blood emerald, then blood diamond. Oh my god. I must be tired. My sleep pattern's mucked up, guys. I'm sleeping during the day and I'm awake through the night. So I'm almost aligned to your time zone. But it's the Christmas break and I've been watching good films, good TV and playing games. I don't have anything to do until I'm back at university, so I'm just enjoying doing whatever I want to do. But yeah, it's basically a blood ruby. The blood ruby is one of the gems. So we can see this is working very nicely. Would you guys like to see me jump into Blender? I was going to call the stream there and then start a new stream in Blender, just so that I can have the videos separate, because they're two completely separate things. Like this is game dev and then Blender's modeling, and I've got a huge playlist with all my modeling, so I want to include modeling the gems. We can see that it's what. Look at that, 39 coins. Oh my god, we were so close. We were so close to having. Oh man, we were so close to having. Oh, what is it? We were so close to hitting the 40 coin drop. Still not had the blood ruby. I was just about to say blood diamond. Okay, right. Guys, that code works perfectly. It works flawlessly. I'm really, really happy with that. This is the drop table for the skeleton, guys. That's the drop table right there. So blue is the rare drop table. Green is 100% guaranteed. So that is the code for handling the drop. Obviously, these debug messages will get deleted out once we've actually got the models. So what we'll do now is we'll jump into Blender and we will model the 3 gems and what else? 3 gems, coins and bones. So, shall we do that? Shall we hop into Blender? I'm happy that works. Like, that's basically 2 hours to create this code. And we've tested it. The coins are dropping. Like, it's a random amount between the 5 and 40. The blood rubies are 1%. Yeah, the blood ruby. I don't know. Why did I mention diamond? Yeah, so the blood rubies are 1% chance. So even if you rolled a 1% or less, you still might not get the ruby because it's in the loot pool for the other gems as well. So if you rolled between 10% and 25%, you'll get a topaz. If you roll above 1% and between 1% and 25%, you'll either get an emerald or a topaz. Or if you roll from like 0 to 25%, you'll basically get the you'll get either things. But yeah, that works quite nicely. Hold on a second. One second. That needs to be changed. Bear with me. If the dice roll is less than 1%, we roll for any of these 3 items. If it's if it's above that value, we should have a check to say the check should be if it's greater than 0.01 but less than 10%, then you would do the emerald or the topaz. So greater than that, but less than 10. So if it's not met the criteria for a blood diamond, but if it's basically between 1% and 10%, so if it's literally above 1%, you would receive an emerald or a topaz. Yeah, that's what needs to go in there. So there we go, that's better. So less than 1%, less or equal to 1%, we get any of those, a chance for any of those. If it's above 1% but less or equal to 10%, we get an emerald or a topaz. And then if it's above the emerald's threshold but less than 25%, which 25% is the threshold for you to receive a topaz, then that's how that would function. I just want to quickly test that, guys, and then we'll jump into Blender and we'll do some modeling. I haven't been in Blender in quite a while. I need to check that my version's up to date. Might be a newer version since I last did it. It's been a couple of months. Oh. We're just going to quickly test these. Oh, a couple of updates. Yeah, I'll check my Steam that it's up to date. It should be fine. Oh, you bastard. Hey, we've got a topaz. .0.1. Let me just... Oh, I'll have a quick look in a second. I'm so happy with those moonlight herbs. They look so cool. I actually modelled that off of a... well, it was based off of a real life plant. I can't remember the name of it. It's not dianthus. It's a pretty cool plant. Oh, we've got an emerald. Okay, cool. Right. So that code is working very nicely. I'm very, very happy with that. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to check my Blender. Blender is up to date. What version is it though? I wonder... Let me just check my playlist. Blender modeling. Oh wow, the last one I did, the title was Blender 5.0.0. Okay, right, so what I'm going to do, guys, I am going to save the project there, and what we're going to do is I will call the stream, but I will be straight back with Blender. So if you just give me like literally like 5 minutes, I'll be right back with Blender, and we're going to model the 3 gems, the bones, and what was the other thing? The 3 bones. Sorry, the bones, the coins, the 3 gems. So I'm going to call the stream there. For anyone that's watching that hasn't already, feel free to follow on Twitch to stay up to date. Go check out YouTube, link below, to see all the previous streams for Unreal, Unity and Blender. And check out Itch if you want to play this game. And I will be back in 5. Thanks a lot.